Hello and good day. Hello, hello. All right. I am your host, Chad Evan Broshears, or Sir Chad Evan Broshears, some, and I am hosting the Maturity Project. Now, hopefully, this has gotten rid of the scratch. So, if you see this little mole-looking thing here on my chest, a little furry thing, that's a microphone thingy. So, hopefully, it prevents it. Testing it out, running along. It's a maturity project because take maturity on a day-to-day basis. Constantly putting effort in to grow and develop. I have become more and more present to some of the costs of growth, development. They say with great power comes great responsibility. I'm not saying that where I'm at is power. I have more power in my life to do what I want and need to do for myself in life. Have more ability to do so, which can be referred to as power, but not like power over others. It's not really something that I'm after. But anyway, so now that I've gotten a little bit more of a definition into this subject, considering that and what's really becoming more and more articulate, able to be articulated, is the compartments of life or levels that we have. I prefer compartments. I do like levels, but compartments seem to be more dynamically descriptive, so it's helpful. Let me start off at this place where let's get to the beginning of things, right? You're born, and with that, people who play video games, typically, especially RPGs, role-playing games, you'll have skill trees, and you'll have a specific attribute set based off of the class that you choose, right, in the gaming world. And in reality, we're born with our genetics, and they give us specific trait values that are unique to our genetics, but often feel similar to others or seem identical to others. And you can categorically say, yes, there are people that have the same traits, but it's not really. It's got down to very specific details that create the differences. Otherwise, like we don't even have twins that are perfectly identical. We call them identical twins, but there'll be something about them with their psychology, with their physiology that is slightly different. But people will qualify from the outside saying they're all identical or the same or whatever. But there's some awesome studies. It's the Minnesota twin studies. I'm pretty sure is what it's referred to as. It's got a lot of fascinating stuff where they just studied a whole bunch of twins, from identical to maternal. Just fascinating. Anyway, on to the subject here. So you're born, you have these specific skill traits, and then those give you just kind of advantages in certain places because you have something that's kind of innate in you, pre-installed, if you will. But it's nothing that's overly, differentiating too much. It starts showing up as you get older and you start developing new traits and new skills. So they are adjacent to other things. So as you go down this tree, if you will, then you have skill sets that are associated with or categorically in the same. They're in the same category, but they have differentiation enough that they're not identified as being the same skill. So you could even have where two of them don't seem necessarily to do much more than just fit in the same category of description, but add in a third category or a third a trait, and then those two become accessible and even to the point where you can flow, where it seems like everything is similar. And I know this may sound like the ramblings of a madman, but this is the consequences of putting a lot of work into growth and development and focusing on the details that actually create, the differences in everything. So this is one of the consequences of deep thinking and assessing things in a structure that could be communicated. So if it does come across like I'm a madman, bear with me. I promise you I'm trying to get the best way of describing these insights. But you have the skills that are in that specific category or that compartment, and then you develop those. They work with each other, but they also give you opportunity into other skills. other other compartments. So keep doing that. Before you know it, these are the things that actually make us that much different. Typically, people that are funny is associated with multiple different traits that get them to the point of being funny. Often, and now there's narratives you build into things, but like, okay, if you have an angry comic, well, if the guy's always nice, but he's known as the angry comic, you have to get where that makes sense. So you have different traits necessary to fit that descriptor of being, the angry comedian. But the fact that they're always nice is contradicting the term, which creates its own value into a narrative about that particular comic. I don't understand why they're always saying that he's the angry comic when he's always nice. It's weird. But it could lead up to what happens when you have consistent, pleasant, positive thoughts, the inner chaos that comes from that, which is common. But most people have convinced themselves that they're not thinking negatively, even though they internalize it. Shows kind of a problem of the optimist perspective, right? Whenever you over-isolate concepts like that, or become obsessed with it. Anyway, so you have that, and then it has these weirdnesses about that, but they actually compound together because it's one may be traits on the angry side, which is he may be well developed. In this instance, I'm just referring to it as a guy. He may be so well developed in hostility and frustration and upset and anger that he's mature and he knows when to not let it get there. So he's got all of these niceness stops along the way, gatekeepers, if you will, or limiters that he has installed, that he's developed. He's developed these skills so that he does not get upset to where once he did, and it's a positive growth for him, so he gets to the next level of that. Escalated upset, the person's frustrated, or let's say the person's trying to get to him in this skill set build. The person's trying to get to him where once before they used to, and now they try it again, and he stops them because he just doesn't. He's got a limiter. It just doesn't bother him. He's outgrown the offense, the upset. He's more mature now. Well, then the person escalates their method or tactics to try to get to him again, and then it breaks through that wall that now is in that same category with the comic, and that person is now capable of reaching that comic to upset him. As he's becoming more and more of that, he's got these limiters put in place. And it's like, okay, well, it's like playing chess with somebody. It's constantly learning how to tactfully develop yourself so that you're not taken down, or your thought process is not broken into another person's world because of an insult, which, by the way, is what we typically do when we're upset. We try to break the worldview, or not the worldview. We're trying to break the moment of reality from that person's position and to put them into the one we want them in whenever we lash out and attack or whatever. When we get upset to the point that we, say things to upset somebody, whatever. That's actually just trying to break their reality and put yours into that place, or pull them into one that has more chaos, right? If you use an insult to make the person feel bad, well, you're a low life. Well, what is a low life? You have to go by the definition of what the person also agrees to. Well, you just say a low life and you don't give them validation to why you feel that way. It could just be like, it's an ad hominem. I don't care. Big deal. It's not shifting my reality. The escalation of details to give more to it starts to make them look at themselves and go, you know what? Maybe there is some truth to this. Even though I'm upset, I'm going to outwardly deny it. Something internally is starting to get sticky. It's starting to get traction enough that it can actually change my reality. I'm shifting. Because that's the goal in those situations. Well, with the angry comic, he has people trying to piss him off, trying to take him to that place, and he's got limiters put in place. Build up enough limiters to the point where it's like, okay, I'm all in now. You have graduated to the final level. You've beat all of my limiters. Now you get to have the angry guy. Well, if a comic gets up on stage and is incredibly pleasant, incredibly sweet, nice. Every step of the way it takes to put these limiters in or develop them has become something relatable to an audience. And that person can now share that in a way that they're leading them into the break. So that it's funnier because it gets to that point of being so valued, it's so contrast driven, especially if you go through all of these things. Somebody did X, Y, and Z, and it didn't bother me at all. The person cut me off in traffic, didn't bother me at all. Internally I was like, but I got this method to deal with it, and I'm good, right? I think Bill Maher, I think it's Bill Maher, maybe the wrong one. Anyway, he's a comic, little redheaded guy, hilarious guy. He does something similar. That he's actually not a bad example, not perfect example, but not a bad one. But he goes from nice or okay, and then he just like loses it, right? He starts screaming or whatever. Well, if you get to the point that you're like, Jesus, man, I can't believe this person has a limiter established in a place that anybody on this planet would be so incredibly upset by. And then the person says, and then, I found out I didn't have my pack of gum and I lost it all. And, because it makes it funnier that the person has all of this impressive maturity and development. And you're just like, wow, this person is, man, I would be so angry at this stage. Well, they have a coping mechanism. They've developed a structure and a strategy to get them past that upset of, whatever other people are dealing with. They built such a pattern that it's easy to associate with new challenges. But you just have to be a little bit better at each one. Whenever you just get stronger in those particular in that structure and strategy, you get stronger and more detail driven and aware. But then the person's like, yeah, and then I took 3 Tic Tacs in my mouth instead of 2, or something along those lines. It's just so absurd that that's going to be what upset them here because of all the other things. That's where some of the punchlines can be drawn, and that's a secondary punchline at times, because whatever the main punchline is, that one follows into it to make it an accelerant into the humor, so people are laughing harder and more deeply. So that gives you the breakdown. Now, this is all done through those traits. You get these traits that come along, or that you develop. You're developing a trait with every decision you make. You're either strengthening old existing traits, which could be the self-esteem conversations, it could be the established things that are your identity, things like that. You don't realize you're strengthening those while you're occupying them, but you will realize it, how strong they were whenever that strength is in absence. Whenever somebody gets you to the point they shake your world, that's part of the descriptor for shaking your world, or turning your world upside down, is they've changed your reality, but everything you've grown stronger and confident in is flipped over, because now it's the opposite side of it. It's gone, or it's destroyed, or changed, or whatever. This also goes into what happens with heartache and gain, betray, stuff like that. But anyway, so I wanted to do a video on just introducing those trait values, because this gets all the way to such complexities. It's kind of like a root system, or if you're looking at DNA, the helix, and you're comparing them between different, to see about, like, let's say they're trying to do a DNA match. You look at the trait values like that. You got all of these different traits that look like a root system, and then you're going out getting relationships with people, and you're lining those up to see how close they are to each other, so that you can find those commonalities and how much you like them, and then those things start creating chemistry. So that is chemistry in itself, if you were to look at it from a psychological perspective. But anyway, all right, well, that's it for today. Again, I am your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. If you know, you know. We've got a world to work on, but we really got to work on ourselves first. And I did post something earlier today that was that we're encouraged in our society right now to close our minds to go to war. I'd rather open my mind and go and find peace. All right. Share this video with the people in your life that you want to break the ice with, to start a conversation like this. Like and subscribe to the channel and the video. And let's get to it. All right. I hope you guys are having a great day. And don't forget, comment in the comment section for what you get out of this. And we'll see you next time. See ya.